Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Good morning. Hello. Good afternoon. Good evening. Whatever the heck it is when you happen to be listening. I'm Lynn Cullen. Be with you for about an hour. And we talk about what's going on. Oh, poor us. Later in the show, I'll be joined by Pittsburgh City Paper editor Charlie Deach. There was an incident downtown yesterday, late afternoon, and there is some suggestion that the police did not handle the situation well. One of our reporters was on the scene, and we'll talk to Charlie Deach about it. I happened to see the aftermath of the scene myself, and I don't know. We'll talk about it. You know, it's weird what all of this news and all these videos we've seen of police behaving badly or murderously has done to our psyches. I can't imagine what it's done to African Americans' psyches, especially African American males. I'm an old white woman, and it's affected me. So when I was, well, I'll talk about it later, but I find myself looking at police in a different way. I used to be, really still kept my parents' voice in my head that, if I'm ever in trouble and you go to the police and these are good guys, they're there to, and I mean, and in fact, generally that's been my personal experience. But I'm older and wiser now and sadder, God knows. So it's hard to not, when you see police performing their job and the hard part of their job, which is getting maybe a bad situation under control and or arresting somebody, we look at it now with such a critical eye. At least I do. A much more critical eye. And I have to admit that when I was at the scene of this event, I missed much of it, but came in toward the end. I wanted to kick myself for not having downloaded that ACLU app that I've told you about, which is called Mobile Justice, I believe. You'll find out about it on the ACLU website, PA website. And what it does is the minute your phone starts recording, and if I wanted to, get my phone out and do it, and then I thought, well, it ain't going right to. And as it turns out, if you are filming with your phone, you risk the ire of the police, which is what happened to a City Paper reporter on the scene. I don't know. We'll talk to Charlie about what happened. I must say that the little I saw just left me unhappy. I didn't see anything actionable. It just left me unhappy. And aware of how I now have this very ambivalent feeling toward the very people that I'm supposed to feel are safeguarding me, and that's unfortunate. Speaking of that, the mistrial in the first case in Freddie Gray murder, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised because I frankly thought from day one that the prosecutor overreached. It doesn't do any good to set up a community for, set them up for thinking that, okay, we're gonna come down on these people, when you should know full well that you've got a very, very difficult case to prove here. And I'm not even talking about the fact that it's a police officer. I'm not surprised. I think it's a testament to the jury that they clearly struggled. That I mean, I don't know that anyone's come out with what the numbers were for acquittal and or conviction. But that was a jury that was put through hell, trying to come to a verdict, and failed in that regard, leading to the mistrial. I don't know. So, as you know, I've been talking a lot about the movie Concussion and about what impact it is having. It's coming out next week, Christmas Day. Big story in the sports section of the New York Times today regarding it. And one of the players' families, player depicted in the movie, is alleging that the movie smears him. It's true; it doesn't make him look good, but he is he is a huge object lesson in the film. The family is the survivors of a Chicago Bear defensive back named Dave Durison, who was a heck of a player, and who, after he left the Bears, became a businessman, rather successful. And then he was tapped by the NFL to serve on one of its committees that decides whether or not a player who appeals to the NFL for disability payments, whether or not that player would get the disability payments. And he must have been like, they mostly it was made up of NFL officials, but he was a player, a former player that they put on. And in the movie, there are two major scenes with him, and he comes across as a real jerk. It shows him leaving the NFL offices and being approached by another former player who looks really disheveled, down and out. That player was Andre Waters. Andre Waters at the time already had full-blown CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy. And he was saying to Durison, how can you do that to me? I need help. Please help me. And Durison just sort of shoves him away, says, like, go take an aspirin, get out of my way. And I mean, it's really this fierce thing. And Durison leaves Andre Waters, who goes on not too long after to commit suicide. The incredible thing is, Dave Durison, not too long after, also commits suicide. Because he ends up with CTE himself. And before he kills himself, he completely understands now where the player who accosted him on the street was at. And you'll see that a lot of players who kill themselves now, aware of CTE, do not shoot themselves in an easy way. The easy way is you shoot yourself in the head, in the mouth. They don't do that because they want their brains preserved so that they can be absolutely found to have had this horrific disease. And Durison, who had denied other players with it help, ends up writing his suicide note. Flat out says, I want my brain sent to these researchers. And he shoots himself in the chest. And that's what a lot of them have, in fact, done. So, it is true. It might not have been true that there was this altercation on the street, but it's a movie. And a movie builds a dramatic arc. And the director of the film told the New York Times that Dave Durison serves a very crucial metaphorical purpose. Not just a player who retires and becomes part of the NFL superstructure and goes from wearing a uniform to wearing a suit, but a man who sits there in judgment of other players when they deserve disability payments. And then he takes his own life because of the disease which ravaged the very men that he had said no to. And he finds himself in the ironic position of suffering the same fate. Yeah. Durison's family is saying he was made to look like a SOB and that he was not an SOB. This is a problem when movies get made that involve real people, some of whom are still alive, and certainly some of whose family members are still alive. And I have said there are a lot of people in Pittsburgh who are going to claim that the movie smears them as well. Rightly or wrongly, that is for, I guess, everyone to decide on their own. It says also, this is, you can see that the pushback against this film is going to be huge. By the way, I think Jean Marie said that, and it is true, that Dr. Amalu has been on the receiving end of just blistering criticism from other doctors, and since his op-ed in the New York Times last week, or it might have even been this week, last week, in which he said he did not think that any parent that was doing their job would allow a child to engage in a sport in which this kind of headbanging occurred, that you would only allow the child, once the child had reached a majority, 18, 21, whatever you wanted to call it, to make that choice for themselves. But of course, that would destroy football. You can't have people coming in at that late a date in their age. The director also says in the Times today, we were making a feature film, not a documentary. It's not a Wikipedia entry. The movie is emotionally and spiritually accurate. I'm not sure what that means exactly, but as I said, I found things in the movie that I thought, that I knew about. The fact that Cyril Wecht's indictment on all these federal charges brought by Mary Beth Buchanan, the U.S. attorney, in the movie, that is tied in to this NFL concussion thing, as if that was done at the behest of the NFL trying to take down Wecht and Omalu. And I turned to my friend that I was with and I said, huh? And we both said, huh? Durison's son says what the movie does not appreciate was how difficult a position my father was in. You have someone on a board with a fiduciary responsibility who can't just give out money for the sake of giving out money. I think his hands were tied. See, I mean, here's a son trying to say my dad was a good guy, but he was like window dressing in this committee. Durison also was called to testify at a congressional hearing in 2007 that focused on whether the NFL's disability board was unfairly denying former players benefits. And when he testified before the board, he said there was no definitive link between playing football and dementia. There's also a scene in the movie in which he, sort of really aggressively confronts Dr. Omalu. But here's the line in today's Times that freaked me out. And I think, I obviously could, I'm sure Jean Marie has been told about this already, and I'd really like to know how she responds. Because the New York Times says this: like many Hollywood films, Concussion combines real events with fictional flourishes. For example, the film suggests that Omalu was the first to diagnose chronic traumatic encephalopathy and was the first to refer to it as CTE. But neither suggestion is true. What? That's the whole thing. That's what the movie is about. That's the story Jean Marie wrote in GQ. That it was Bennett Omalu who first found this, who named it CTE. I don't know where, and they don't go on to say, well, who the hell was the first? I don't understand where this is coming from. Now, I know Jean Marie has been very critical of the New York Times specifically for the way it has reported on CTE from day one. From day one, they sort of pushed Dr. Omalu away. And maybe they are trying to stay with whatever their rendition. I don't know. But this is, to me, was interesting. The plot thickens or sickens. The life of the rich. I'll tell you. So there's this front page story about this rich guy who the last time I read about him, he had bought the top 2 floors of the Fairmont Hotel as his own penthouse. Nice digs. He's Hollywood, too. He is a producer, made his money with legendary films, and you may recall, his name is Thomas Tull, and he is part owner of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Relatively new owner, but he came in and he really likes the Steelers, and then he decided he needed that 2 floors, a penthouse, so he could look at the stadium. Meanwhile, he's in town I don't know, every once in a while. He lives in Hollywood. But now he's gone and bought another house in Edgeworth. This, too, sitting high on a hill overlooking the Ohio, and with a view of the skyline of Pittsburgh. The people who sold it to him said he wanted the house as a guest house like 2 floors of the Fairmont were not enough to put up whatever guests he was bringing in. However, he bought this Edgeworth home for $5.5 million. It turns out it's a pretty historic place. I'm looking at a picture of it, and it's just delightful looking. Wonderful. Built in 1905. He bought it for $5.5 million, and a few days later, he applied to the borough or city or town or whatever the hell it is of Edgeworth to rip it down. Now, people in Edgeworth are freaking out. This is a historic old home. It's a beautiful home. The rich can buy anything they want. They can spend $5.5 million on a beautiful old historic home and then send the wrecking balls in so they can build some modern monstrosity. Because it's not enough to own the 2 top floors of the Fairmont. I'm sorry. It makes me puke. I know people who know this guy. They say he's just a great guy. Fine. I'm sure he can be a wonderful guy, but I don't know. Nothing anybody can do about it. So it's going down, I guess, because he needs a second home. I wonder how many homes this guy has. If he's got 2... yeah, I know. I just showed the picture to Celine. It's on the front page of the Post-Gazette. And is that not a delightful-looking place? Is that not a delightful... Full of charm. It doesn't look like a big, ugly mansion. It just looks like a wondrous place to me. And he's going to rip that down. Shit. Okay. And as it turns out, the other rich guy who also bought a place in Edgeworth and ripped it down is another jerk, Meekum. What's his name? Meekum? He's a right-wing jerk-off who made his money in, technology on the internet. I forget what is that called? I can't remember. And he's a jerk. This guy might not be a jerk, but what is it about the rich that they just, I guess they can do whatever they want. They can do whatever they want. However, one rich guy who looked like he was doing whatever he wanted, who we all were hating, he got arrested this morning. Isn't that wonderful? Did you hear about this? The guy who bought the pharmaceutical company and then jacked up the price of the pill to some astronomical thing and then wouldn't back down. He took a pill that was going for $13.50 and said, and now that I own it, it's going to cost $750 a pill. He got arrested this morning. Not for that. There's nothing illegal about being a capitalist asshole. There's nothing illegal. But he had authorities knocking on his penthouse door this morning because they are charging him with fraud of some kind while running a hedge fund that he had before. Okay? Federal charges are believed to parallel a civil lawsuit filed against him, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, this is that 31-year-old asshole. You'll pardon my language. He's now, well, I'm sure he's out already because the rich, as you know, have lawyers, and so it's not like he's sitting in the hoosgow, but he's been arrested on fraud charges.
Did you?
Huh?
Did you hear what he did with the Wu-Tang album?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he's just a jerk. Well, so anyway, there's that. There's that. If that makes you feel better. So, I don't know what it is about the rich. What is it about them rich people? And what is it with them Christians? I want to talk about a wonderful Christian college in Illinois. It's pretty well known. It's in the town of Wheaton, and it's the name of the college as well, Wheaton College. It's an evangelical Christian private school. And maybe you've heard what they've done to one of their tenured professors. She's been put on, I guess, indefinite leave. And because of significant questions regarding remarks that she made. You want to hear the remarks she made? Her name is Larissia Hawkins. She's a political science professor. She's an African-American woman. She put a picture on Facebook a week ago of herself with a scarf covering her hair. And she said that she was pledging to wear a headscarf in public, at work, when she goes on an airplane, when she goes to social events, all throughout these weeks heading into Christmas. And she was doing it in solidarity with Muslim women who have to walk out with that on now and take whatever crap is coming to them from jerk-off Americans. She said this. This is what she said that got her kicked out of the classroom. I stand in religious solidarity with Muslims because they, like me, a Christian, are people of the book. And as Pope Francis stated last week, we worship the same God. Well, I am sorry. That was... So she's in trouble because the evangelicals who run this college say, what the hell are you talking about? You saying that the God that they worship is the God we worship? Just a minute here. They worship Allah. We worship Jesus. They ain't the same. And one could argue that the three monotheistic religions all worship, of course, the same God. That would be Jews, Muslim, and so here is a Christian professor at a Christian college attempting to live as a Christian, as she understands the whole message of the God she worships, Jesus. And I don't know about you, but I think her standing in solidarity, her wearing of the, is a very Christian thing to do. You know, it's like when you watch these Republican contenders and you think they all trumpet their Christian faith all the time. And you think, do any of them think for a moment that the God they're so, what's the word? It's sickening to me the way they throw out their religion all the time. The God they so ostentatiously worship would think that they were living as true Christians. Do they think that? You know, the WWJD, what would Jesus do? if Jesus were to listen to any of these Republican debates, he'd puke. And that these people are all saying that so much of what they are is because of their Christian faith. I think Jesus' head would explode. Oh, boy. So anyway, I didn't really watch much of that debate because I can't do it anymore. I got Xanax. I got Zoloft. There's just so many drugs I can take to be able to. I drink heavily through the entire debate, and yeah, I can't take it. I cannot take it anymore. But you know what? A lot of people. I was the third biggest audience for a presidential debate in history, apparently. Man, a lot of Americans have stronger stomachs than I do. So, it's not just Americans who are watching these debates. Can you, people all over the world, God help us, people all over the world are watching these debates. Oh, hang on, we got a call. Hello?
Hey, Lynn, it's Roger.
Hi, Roger.
I got myself in a lot of trouble the other night.
What'd you do?
I was watching the debates, I was drinking, and I was on Facebook.
Uh-oh. That's okay, that's dangerous.
I took a picture of the screen when they were zooming in on Carly Fiorina.
Uh-oh, yeah.
And I noticed the great big huge cross she was wearing. And I just sort of posted the picture and said, is she trying to ward off vampires, or is she proving that vampires are no longer vulnerable to crosses anymore? Oh my gosh, what a firestorm kicked off.
Well, what'd you expect?
Well, I know. Well, that's probably where the alcohol came in. But I'll tell you, I mean, what that woman accomplished in her as CEO, I mean, she is the epitome of what's wrong with American business, why we need labor unions, and how she just screws over working class people, yet people are going to back her up. And she's got if you're a Christian, wouldn't you be pissed off that she's wearing that damn thing? It's like, it was huge. That was the funny thing. It's like, she's going to have back problems probably.
I didn't see it. I mean, the little bit I watched, she wasn't on screen. So
no, it's just like, because I've got family members, and some are very conservative, most are very conservative, and I swear, I think it's this armband religion that they live in such a fury, and the flag pins. I'm all over it. Get over the flag pins. And I said she was unpatriotic because she wasn't wearing the flag pin too, but
I have a friend who gave out flag pins to all of her friends. I think it was last Christmas or whatever, and she did it because she said, "You can't let those people own the flag. We should start." It's sort of like what I say about, or what Chris Potter used to say about guns. We got to go get guns. We got to start doing the flag, and we just take these things back from these people.
Yeah, well, they're more patriotic than us.
Oh, yes, definitely. Whatever their definition of patriotism is. I would suggest they're more jingoistic than us. They're more nationalistic than us. They're more,
God, the commentary going on about killing and fighting and
carpet bombing and like
World War III.
I know. Oh, dear.
I also posted that I thought I was watching Saturday Night Live skit, but now should I be scared or should I be laughing?
No, be scared. I've gone from laughter to absolute terror myself. My terror alert color is now approaching red.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks, Roger.
Okay.
Bye.
Talk to you later.
Bye. Okay, so the rest of the world is watching these debates. Here is what a German newspaper, the Rheinische Post, said, as they watched, they said, "Yach!" They said, what we're seeing is narrow-mindedness instead of American generosity. Fear-mongering instead of common sense. Macho poses instead of level-headedness. I think that sort of sums it up rather well. And I appreciate that at least this German paper was willing to suggest that there was a better side to America, contrasting where the Republicans stood with what could be seen as a history also of American generosity and American common sense and level-headedness. That is, none of those things are on display at all with these candidates because it would kill them with the Republican base. Can you imagine having to appeal to people that want you to be xenophobic, racist, and warmongers? What? Well, if you're running for the Republican Party nomination, that's what you got to do. Generosity? Empathy? Those are, who said it? Those are femmy kinds of, things. The Republicans are macho. It's like in the movie Concussion, I just remembered. He gets a phone call from somebody, and he says, "You're trying to vaginize." The guy on the phone, "You're trying to vaginize our country or football or something." Yeah, the worst thing you can do is make it more like a woman. All right, I guess the guys at Amnesty International are watching too because they put out this. They tweeted this. Carpet bombing and intentionally targeting children and other non-combatants are war crimes. Suggesting this as American strategy is outrageous. And that is what they are literally standing up there and touting war crimes as their foreign policy. Yeah, it's not, no laughter anymore. No, sorry, can't do it. Charlie's running a little late. Is he going to get here at all?
Yep.
Okay. So the other thing I just wanted to pass on to you is a little thing I saw about our mayor, Bill Peduto, who was in Washington the other day, appearing on a panel at the Center for American Progress. Also, there was the Housing Secretary, Julian Castro. And Peduto is there saying, he was talking about the thing that freaks me out about what's going on in this city right now with all the gentrification. And Peduto said this, we have thousands of people who need affordable housing, and we have tens of thousands of vacant lots and properties. And then he went on to say he wants to work with nonprofits to buy those properties and develop them as affordable housing. But in order to do that, he needs the feds to change the rules for how you get housing vouchers and all this kind of stuff. And it says here that Castro, the housing secretary, didn't say anything in response and in fact left immediately after. So I don't know. But here's the other thing Peduto said that blew me away. Just to note, with all the development going on in the Lower Hill, the Hill District, a Hill District group filed a federal complaint about the fact that that area now is being redeveloped and there's not anywhere near enough affordable housing where the Civic Arena used to stand. And in fact, while they say there's affordable housing, the formula they're using to define affordable will cut out almost everybody who lives in the Hill. Because their definition of poverty and affordable is different from the reality of what people live on in the Hill District. So they can't afford the affordable dwellings that are being built. So this was the thing Peduto said that he acknowledged. Well, first of all, he talked about how the redevelopment in where the arena was is just a small piece of what will happen for the Hill, that there will be improved transit, there will be a revitalized retail corridor, they're going to renovate the new Grenada Theater that is there, all of that. But then the mayor said this, and here it is. He acknowledged that revitalization raises rents and that brings an additional challenge of preventing displacement. And guess what? We ain't meeting the challenge. We're not. He knows it. I know he's not happy about it. But the way this world works and this country works, where the rich run everything and everything is run for the rich, for the people with money, the poor are forever getting kicked in the teeth. Peduto said this, quote, "Within the next 10 years, the Hill District is going to develop very quickly. But I have serious doubts about whether we'll be able to ensure all the people who have lived there through the bad times will be able to stay there through the good times." There it is. A flat-out acknowledgement by this mayor, most progressive mayor this city's ever going to see, this mayor, that he knows that what's happening now in my neighborhood, in East Liberty and in the East End, is coming to the Hill. As it's come to Lawrenceville, as it will come to Garfield. It's coming to the Hill. They're finally going to get a revitalized Hill District. Except, I guess we forgot to tell you, you won't be able to live in it. This is not a good society that does this kind of thing with regularity, that calls this progress. Yeah, I understand it's progress on one front. God, all of a sudden things, look vital and people and this and that. But when you look at the impact on the people whose neighborhood that has been, was, is, and now can be no more, the people that don't ask, what happens to them? We've pushed them out of every neighborhood. A society that keeps doing that and calling it progress is, well, what can I say? Charlie Deitch is coming in. I'm moving over here. Charlie, come on, get in here.
Sorry.
It's okay. You're here. That's all I care about. So I got to tell you, I was on a P1 bus.
Yeah.
Closer. I was on a P1 bus yesterday at 3:30.
Okay.
And we're heading zip down the... And as we're heading into the downtown, the radio of the driver's going nuts. And there's
Sure.
this guy saying, I've never seen so many police. You got to turn. I can't. He was trying to tell other bus drivers, don't turn onto this. You're going to have to do this route, that route. And I was hearing this chatter, and I thought, what the heck? And he pointed that it was Wood and Liberty.
Right.
Liberty. And I thought, I was heading to a Planned Parenthood board meeting on Liberty. I thought, oh, man, the old reporter in me. I go,
Yeah.
well, I can be late to the meeting. And I raced over there. I came in at the end. I saw one arrest. I didn't see any of what I see on the video
Right.
that you guys have. So what happened?
Completely what happened? Well, so it all started apparently, and we're by no means done following up this story. We're working on follow-ups. But what initially happened, apparently, we don't know how it was called in. If Port Authority police saw an individual allegedly monkeying around, messing around with the escalator. And they went down, and there was an altercation. Police say that teen kicked the officer, and some others tried to intervene. So that all happened there. I don't know if those arrests are legitimate. They very well may be.
But those were in the
Wood Street.
So how does it spill onto the street?
So here's the issue. The issue is apparently some people were yelling at police, especially after some of the takedowns out in the street. But this is one of the busiest bus stops, corners in the entire county.
Yes.
And so there are already people there waiting for buses on both sides of the streets.
Right. It was crowded.
It was. Yes, yeah. It was. And so, so then it spills onto the street. People, of course, are yelling. People are upset. And there was I got down there probably well after. We had a reporter, Ryan Dito. Ryan happened to be walking by. And, he's a reporter, so he took out his phone and he started filming. And so he got there. I don't know if it was still ongoing in the Wood Street station, but things had spilled onto the street at this point. He captured an arrest on film by Port Authority police.
Okay.
Pittsburgh City police were there to work crowd control. That's what we were told. And I believe that I saw a sheriff's vehicle as well.
Oh, no, there were a number of sheriffs.
Yes, sheriff's vehicles
all
as well.
All down
right.
on Liberty. I kept
Correct.
seeing sheriff.
They had Smithfield blocked. They had Smithfield
Right.
blocked off. They had a lot of different.
It looked like
Liberty
a
was close.
big to-do.
Like there was a big deal going on.
And that's when I heard
Right.
a kid was tampering with the
Right.
escalator.
Right. He may
and
have
this is what
stopped
we
it.
get?
He may have
What?
Well, but most of the coverage has been yesterday. All of the coverage had been what happened at the station. That's it. But what happened on the
It's the
street
aftermath,
wasn't covered by any media. Except for us initially, and then we were contacted by WPXI. They wanted to use our video, and they talked to Ryan for the report. And so what Ryan captured was the takedown. Again, I don't know if that was a legitimate arrest. It may have been. I believe that individual was cited and released after that takedown in the middle of Liberty
I saw
Avenue.
the last, I think, arrest, and I saw them put the guy in the...
Right.
So you're saying that guy probably was... I don't...
The guy that we have on our tape in the yellow
Yes, that's who I
sweater
saw.
jacket.
Yeah.
They detained all of them.
Yeah.
Only two people, a 19-year-old adult, and then I believe, 15-year-old who allegedly was messing with the escalator and allegedly kicked a police officer. He went to Schumann. Everyone else was cited and released. Three others cited and released.
But on your video, there's a cop.
There is. So here's how I see the video. Ryan is filming. He's on the sidewalk the entire time. Ryan's not in the street for any of this. He's taping across the street at officers trying to get to disperse. They're banging on the metal light posts, are banging on the mailboxes. Now, when I asked last night, I talked to Sonia Toller, the spokesperson for the city police.
Right.
She told me that is an allowable tactic to help disperse. I don't think that necessarily calms a crowd to start banging your metal baton.
Well, you're
and
banging
these guys are whipping these metal batons.
Yeah,
they
I saw that.
they see somebody, they snap that thing out, and they approach somebody. So this officer is crossing from that scene. I don't know what his involvement was across the street. He's crossing. Ryan is in front of what he describes as a group of mostly young folks behind him.
There are a lot of young folks because
All
they're
over.
getting out of
They're getting out of school over here.
schools
Right, there are a couple
right,
of schools,
right.
So he's just filming. Ryan is just filming. He talked to a couple of the folks there, a couple of the kids there who knew the folks in the station. And this officer, as you can clearly see from the video, he's walking across the street and he almost does a double take. And he sees Ryan filming, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He sees Ryan, as the editor, I'm allowed to make an opinion. He sees Ryan filming. I know what I see. He sees Ryan filming and he turns and he does that flick with the baton, and he comes at him and he speaks to him. I double checked with Ryan. Ryan was not physically touched, but there are other ways the police are supposed to react and talk to the public. He could have easily. Ryan is a reporter, and Ryan identified himself as such as on the tape. Ryan still has to abide by police orders, and if he would have said, "Look, move back," even if it's a forceful move back, that's fine. But that's not what he did. He came up. He called Ryan big boy, keep taping big boy, get it all big boy.
Yeah.
And he was and Ryan said, "I'm a reporter, I'm allowed to be here." And the officer, Beth Pittenger of the Police Review Board for our story on pghcitypaper.com, said that he was clearly, his demeanor was not a command and control demeanor. He was probably driven by his anger. She said later, he was angry. He wasn't professionally engaging people, and anybody can ask me to defend that statement. And I can.
What was there to be angry about? He's doing his job.
That's exactly right.
Nobody
and again, these people are waiting for. Most of these people are waiting for buses. That's why there's a crowd there, because it's the busiest bus stop in Allegheny County. It's a transit hub with the trains and the buses and everything coming in. So there are people around because they're waiting for buses. And so this officer was upset. And so I talked to Sonia Toller with the police department last night, and she told me that them banging on the poles and the cans, mailboxes was a tactic.
That's okay.
Whatever. I don't think it works. She felt that the officers across the street, that their actions were professional. Now, these are guys screaming at the top of their lungs, yelling at people to move on. I don't know. Again, I know it's a crowd.
You think there should be a nicer way?
But not even a nicer way, but I don't know that. That seems to me to almost to be an instigating tone. I mean, you can be forceful without screaming, almost like you're in a panic. That's what some of it. If you listen to the tape, they're screeching at people.
Yes.
They're not speaking loudly and forcefully. They're yelling, just like the gentleman who approached my reporter. And so, I asked her, "Do you feel
they
that
seem what they do is they
aggressive?
seem
Thank
aggressive?
You. They seemed very aggressive.
And you're standing there, and your reaction then is sort of fear. What kind of? You're just being a regular citizen. Nothing major has happened.
Right.
Why, if that cop is so angry, what the hell is he angry about?
I don't know. Something. Well, I said this to Sonia Toller, and she said, "Charlie, you didn't see, and your reporter didn't see the people behind him." And I said, "Well, that's at that moment that the officer did a double take, right? But you can hear nobody yells, 'Hey,' whatever. Nobody calls him a name. If somebody flipped him off or something like that,
so what?
That's legal. I mean,
so
that's
what?
free. That's protected speech. You can, please don't do this at home because."
So Beth Pittenger,
Yes.
the executive director of the Police Review Board, she looks at this tape
before I even called her,
and she says the conduct demonstrated by the officer on that video was so excruciatingly unbecoming on its own merit that there's really nothing to look into.
Right.
I mean, and
in her mind, it's a done deal.
A lot of people looking at it would disagree. They would say, "Hey, did you see the comments?"
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All the comments. I didn't see anything wrong.
Right, what's the matter with that? You're a bunch of pussies. I mean, that's what somebody said. You're a bunch of pussies, and da-da-da-da. Well, I mean, so let me, I just want to state this, and I think we wrote it. I hadn't asked Beth to intervene. I contacted Beth last night as a reporter looking for her take on the video, and also as an editor, because I'm trying to decide what we need to do going forward. And we have a couple of ideas. But Beth told me that she was launching an inquiry and that she'd already emailed the chief. That was not at my request.
Wow.
Beth did that on her own. She felt that it was blatant enough, and she believes that the chief will act on this. Now, I talked to Sonia Toller and I asked her, do you think that this officer's conduct was proper when he engaged my reporter? And she said, if that's your belief, you need to file a complaint. I'm not going to judge anything beyond that. So I said, I'm asking you, do you think, she wouldn't respond to that. I said, well, then I would like to speak to somebody in command. I would like somebody in command to tell me, and I'm not only talking as a reporter, I'm speaking as someone whose employee was engaged, in my mind, inappropriately by city police. And I said, I would like to speak to someone in command. And she said, if I want to speak to someone in command, I need to file a complaint. I've emailed the chief this morning. I don't know if I'll hear back.
You think you should be able to talk to somebody in command
I
without
think right.
filing a complaint?
Right. Well, I'd like to see if we can work this out beforehand. I would like someone to tell me before I go in. I would like someone to tell me whether or not they feel that was an appropriate action. I mean, I don't know, and maybe they can't. But what I want is someone in command to tell me that I have to file a complaint. That's correct. That's correct. I want their thoughts on it, because I mean, if you see that video and if you think there's, maybe they don't think there's anything wrong with that video, but if you see that video and you think there's something wrong, if nobody files a complaint, is it like, nobody filed a complaint, we're safe, we don't have to do anything? No, I think this chief has demonstrated that, and as I wrote to him in an email today, I think he's done a lot of great things in the past 15 months that he's taken over. And I would just like to speak to him and get his thoughts on what happened, and maybe he can, and again, we are a news gathering agency, but also I would think if someone was taping who was who was an employee at any other company in town, and they may step in and say, hey, what's happening here? What do you think that this was appropriate?
As I look at it, I think a lot of people look at it, and there's no violence. There's no.
That's
it's
right.
just like it's just a nasty looking
Right.
cop. And here's the thing. He treated everybody there, and that we see, and I certainly felt that too when I was down there, with disrespect.
Sure.
I mean, it's one thing. They want respect from us.
Yeah. Right.
Well, how about treating
Right.
us like with respect?
And let me say this. There were many officers there who acted completely different.
Yes.
Completely different. There were, and I was talking with someone last night. There were several female officers on site.
Wow, were there ever? And they were plain, a lot of plain
Right.
clothes.
And they didn't lose their cool.
No.
They very much, they did their job. They, I don't know. Sometimes I don't know. That's probably.
You think it's a macho-y thing?
Sometimes I think it is. I don't know. It's just weird.
Testosterone overload. Yeah. Testosterone overload.
Yeah, there were other officers there moving crowds back
who were not.
Right. I mean, even if he would have used that tone and just said, you have to move back, you have to move back, you have to move. But he used personal, I think he took it to a personal level.
Right,
and I think he was very aggressive at backing him down the street, and
when he wasn't doing anything.
He was 20 to 30 feet away.
Right,
he was 20 to 30 feet away from anything.
Right.
You could see, in my mind, that officer saw something in the crowd he didn't like, be it the tapes, be it maybe somebody did do something behind him, but he was agitated, in my opinion, when he came over toward that crowd, and my reporter happened to be at the front of that crowd. It's just, and I think it deserves interest. And again, a lot of people out there are going to say, oh, toughen up. What's wrong? The police have to do their job, and they do have to do their job. But there are other things here that we're trying to look into. Those were a lot of cops for a tussle.
Well, I got to tell you,
in the Wood Street Station.
The fact that Port Authority bus driver said on the radio, "I've never seen so many." I thought, "Geez, what could the hell be happening?" So and then I find out it's a kid tampering with an escalator, and you would have thought it was World War III.
Right. There are other angles that we're looking into that I don't want to talk about right now, but there are some other things that. There are some questions I think that need to be. Okay. And again, we're city paper and we're, liberal, bleeding heart, blah, 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 blah. And sometimes, as one person on Twitter said, we're barely more reputable than a kid with a blog. And that's fine. But
I don't think that's not true.
I know that, but I'm just saying that.
The kid with a blog doesn't have journalism awards up the wazoo.
I know that. But it's just sometimes that's honestly, as much as that's why I was glad to see other media. Other media is starting to pick up on it, and so that all helps the that all helps the cause, which is were the police acting appropriately?
Yeah.
And, if it gets the word out and, they're using our video and directing traffic our way and to our stories. And so, we're going to continue covering this story.
Right.
It's,
Well, good.
I don't know. I think it's, I don't know. It didn't, immediately I thought it didn't look right. And we're
we're
working,
all,
yeah.
we're all, I was saying earlier in the show, we all now we've seen so many videos of police truly
Right.
behaving badly, murderously, whatever, that we now are sort of on our,
Right.
you're nervous.
And when you see things go from here to here like that, you're thinking immediately, what's going to happen?
Exactly.
Holy crap! How quickly could this escalate? And these things can escalate very quickly. And I do want to say, if anybody out there has any other video from yesterday, they can contact me at cdeitch@pghcitypaper.com. You can also find that on the website. We've had some other folks send us some things. So we're looking at it. We're looking at from other angles, other parts of the street. So. Yeah, again, you wouldn't know that it was that large of a police presence on the street if you read the Trib or the Post-Gazette.
No,
today.
it was just unbelievable.
Yeah.
It really was. What I saw was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Anyway.
They dedicated very little space to it, and what the real story was what was going on in the street. So, in my opinion,
you can have an opinion.
Absolutely.
Charlie Deitch, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, and you guys, thank you so very much. I'll see you in 23 hours. I'll be back. Hope you will too. Bye. Yeah.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.